I was very upstairs. I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. Oh, how I wish he'd go away.